is Cameron Barsanti, and I'm CEO and founder of Storage Life. If you want to know about Storage Life, you can visit our website, storagelife.com. We're a group of investors across the country finding, funding, and operating self-storage together. We also teach you how to do it. All right, so today we're going to talk about focusing on the follow-up, not your leads. And yes, leads are extremely important. They're everything, but I want to actually empower you guys to not just focus on leads, but actually focus on the follow-up. Why? Because the real game of acquisitions is played in the follow-up. Take a broker, for example. If you have befriended or partners or worked with these good self-storage brokers, ask them about their follow-up game. Ask them how relentless and consistent they are in checking in with their owners, building rapport, having an organized list and database of people that they're building relationships with, but more importantly, following up. Why? Because you could have a great conversation with the seller, and maybe you guys have things in common, and it feels like they like you so much, and that for sure one day when they go to sell that they're going to call you. The problem is that's not usually the case. What actually happens is eventually it's a timing thing. Lots of times it's a stressful situation. There's something personally happening. Potentially it's old age. Unfortunately, maybe something's happening in the family, whatever. And the decision comes to sell. At that point, if you're not in the loop, if you're not in that seller's range, they're gonna potentially go sell to either the person that just called them or the broker that's been following up a lot more than you will. So we're gonna break this down a little bit further, but I wanna back up because first let's just talk about leads briefly. The 99% of investors that I chat with, their problem is I can't find enough deals. I'm struggling finding deals. I have education. I've even paid for mentorships. I've listened to the podcast and I've read the books. I'm educated, but I'm still stuck. The reason is because the 1% are good at hunting. They're good at acquisitions. Why? I say it all the time, because the lifeline of the storage investor's career hinges upon one thing and one thing only, and that is your ability to find deals. If you cannot find your next discounted deal and you cannot keep finding them, guess what? You will not survive. You will die. You cannot scale or you cannot start. Well, so then leads. How do you solve the lead problem, the opportunity problem? It's actually easy and it's difficult. It's easy because I can implement a process that's going to start getting you more leads probably than you've ever had. What is it? It's leveraging virtual assistants. I have a company that has turnkey self-storage VAs. So that would be the quickest solution. And so all of a sudden within a week, oh my God, you're getting leads from these trained self-storage VAs. Cool. That's one way. Or you can go find a virtual assistant or two yourself. It's going to be a lot longer of a process, but it's definitely possible. It's what I did. There you go. Your problem solved again, because now your virtual assistants, they've exploded your bandwidth, and now you're finding more opportunity because you're leveraging VAs to do what? To market. Marketing is the key to any business, especially ours. Now your VAs are bringing in leads, how they are doing through various marketing like cold calling, maybe texting, postcards, letters, all that good stuff, right? So that's generating you more leads than you just cold calling yourself. All of a sudden we've solved the lead problem. But the bigger bottleneck and what we're talking about today is the leads are not your problem. I promise you, it's the follow-up game. If you want to get great at self-storage investing, it may sound silly, but it's not going to hinge upon your ability to raise capital. It's not about how you're going to structure the deal. It's not about the due diligence that when you get to that deal. That's all important, but your ability to find opportunity is your lifeline. And it's not about leads. It's about the follow-up game. That is where the real game is played. That is where the 1%, the operators I know that are the best of the best, they're good, number one, because they're great at acquisitions. And why are they great at acquisitions? Because they have a follow-up process in place. They've built a system. Maybe they have a team like me, maybe they don't. I didn't when I started. Let's get to it, the follow-up game. So I have a list of VAs. We primarily cold call, right? And what we're doing is not only are we reaching out, but we're building a database of mom and pop facilities across the country. At some point, most of them, the majority of them are going to sell. Most of the times on those first, second, third calls, a few things are happening. They're either not interested, they don't answer their phone, or we get a manager, right? That's typically the three things that happen the most. Okay, well, what are you then doing with that lead? How are you organizing it? Are you prioritizing that lead appropriately? What I mean by that, I'm going to give this 3 stages, right? So prioritizing the lead appropriately, organizing it efficiently, and following up consistently. You cannot follow up consistently if your leads are not organized. Okay, so number 1, prioritizing the lead appropriately. What does that mean? That means when a lead comes in, whether your VA or you don't get a hold of it, it goes to a manager, or they say they're not interested, or whatever the case may be. How are you prioritizing that lead? How are you organizing it? But you organize it by priority. Is it no website? Are they definitely mom and pop because they've never claimed saying they're Google My Business, or the website looks terrible, or because they don't answer their phone, whatever. And then how important is that lead to you? Because it's in the city you want to be in, or it's a giant facility that's tons of opportunity. You got to prioritize that lead appropriately, which then allows you to organize your leads efficiently. At that point, you can start following up consistently. Once you start building out the system, then you can start following up. What does a follow-up mean? Well, it means that you have to be top of mind, and it also potentially has to be a timing thing. I'm going to give you one pointer that I stumbled upon at one point. I want you to follow up so much with owners that you're building rapport with that at some point you are certain that they've saved your phone number in their cell phone. That's right. Maybe you ask them. Maybe you send them a contact card. While you're talking to them, you say, okay, Mr. or Mrs. Seller, I just sent you my number. Would you save that for me real quick? Or that you've just built so much rapport that when you call them, they go, hey, Cameron. Wow. Now you're getting somewhere. You're building enough rapport that they're actually saving your phone number in their cell phone. Use that as a general idea and concept of like, holy crap, I'm talking about you got to build enough rapport that they're saving your number in their cell phone. Why? Because I've had conversations with sellers many times. It was great, thought everything was going well, and then they didn't call me when they went to sell. So I did not do my job. Again, remind you, you are competing with brokers that are relentless, especially the good ones, at building rapport. And so your follow-up game, it has to be structured. There has to be a procedure. You have to have a system, a CRM. We're about to beta test a lead generation tool that can really help you do all of this all in one platform. But regardless of where you're doing it, maybe you're using Monday or Podia or wherever, we all survive off a calendar. At least we should. I struggle with it, but that's been, a key to getting better at business is time blocking, being efficient, and having everything organized on a rotating system, on a calendar, on a timeline. The way you prioritize leads is going to affect your follow-up game. And your follow-up game, it has to be on a calendar, and you have to get great at it, and you have to be consistent. They say I think like 8 to 12 times before somebody actually remembers you, right? That's a lot. All those people out there that are getting deals, all these people that are closing, I know it's easy to be like, crap, what am I doing wrong? What am I doing wrong? I'm telling you what you're doing wrong, right? You have probably a lead problem. And then when you solve that problem, because again, we can solve that quickly, you then have a follow-up problem. That is the bottleneck. And so when you prioritizing your leads appropriately and the organization gets better, your follow-up game starts getting better and you're more consistent, and you realize you have to start building rapport with these sellers over and over. Maybe you call them and then you hit them with a text, and maybe you send them an email, and maybe you even send a letter, and then you call them again and you say, hey, I just wanted to make sure you got my letter, right? And now you're figuring out through your follow-up pursuit of how to actually start standing out from the rest of the pack that is trying to do this. How can you actually get a seller's attention so when they're ready to sell, they call you? Last little tip here, if they tell you they're not interested, they say, I'm not interested in selling, but I might be in 6 months. You don't wait 6 months, you call them in like 2 or 3. If they say, I'm not interested, but call me in 30 days, you call them in 15. They're not gonna remember. The best problem you can ever have is a seller telling you that you're calling too much. Maybe I've never actually had that happen. And if you do, good for you. Because here's the thing, you would much rather a seller tell you that you're calling too much than a seller sell to somebody else. That's it. You don't want a seller to sell to somebody else because you are scared to call too much. Bug them respectfully. Be the pest that they're like, you know what, you're annoying. I like you. I'm actually going to sell to you. You're annoying. Okay, fine, I'm ready to sell. Whatever it may be. You want to be that annoying person. The follow-up game, it sounds silly. You have to get there. You have to figure out your lead problem first. But once you figure that out, I'm warning you guys, you're going to have a much larger problem to solve, a much bigger bottleneck. That is the follow-up game. It's hard. It's not easy. You're always going to struggle with it. I struggle with it. My team struggles with it. We are always changing and switching out marketing the strategy and doing things differently. And maybe we start following up even more. It's never ending. It's never going to be perfect. You're always going to struggle. But once you can get to a point where your focus and a lot of your efforts are on your follow-up, I promise you, you're going to see a big result and a big shift in all of a sudden opportunity that's going to start happening. Cool, guys. I hope that helps. Thanks for joining. Good luck out there. Peace.